Hello, rail fans, train enthusiasts, historians, and train people alike, and welcome back to another edition of Fallen Flags of America with your host, L&M Productions. Today we are taking a look at the TTI Railroad, or Transkentucky Transportation and Corp, which ran from Paris to Maysville, Kentucky, from not beginning in 1979 to, as of recently, 2017, I do believe. Um, Anyways, let's take a look into this. So, we first had to visit the wiki over here. So, there we go, Wikipedia. And I will put credit to sources in the description so that none of this is copyrighted or plagiarism or whatever it wants to call it. Transkentucky Transportation Railroad. So we see here that the Transkentucky Transportation Railroad, also known as TTI or TTIS, which it ran under that reporting mark till the early 90s. It says here Transkentucky was a 50-mile line that was purchased from the Louisville Nashville in 1979 with the goal of transporting coal produced in eastern Kentucky to the Ohio River. It was a Class 3 railroad that operates coal service, freight service, between Paris and Maysville. In 1991, CSX acquired the TTI as a subsidiary, as well as its sister railroad, Transcontinental Transport Terminals and Corp, located in West Virginia somewhere, I think. Don't ask me where because I don't know. Yes, as you can see here, TTI did shut down in 2017. And oddly enough, this was the same time when I believe, unless I'm wrong, it may have been 2014. This also was in the Hunter Harrison era. Coincidence? I think not. But anyway, if we go to the roster, TTI rostered some very interesting locomotives. Pardon these picks here. These are not what I'm looking for. Whoops, that's not it either. Let's see here. So we start here. This is one of TTI's very interesting locomotives. They rostered in from the, I think, 80s to mid 90s. They rostered some General Electric U28Bs. As you can see here, this one was one of the ex-Chicago, Rock Island, and Pacific ones. They also go back through here. Whoops, I went way too far. Oh, right there. So here was another interesting locomotive of the TTI roster. They only have one of these, and it was not around for a very long time. It was a Baldwin VO1000, which is the Baldwin equivalent of an Alco S series locomotive, and I say S not to be confused with the RS and S series locomotive. I don't know exactly how long this stuck around. I do know that it stuck around abandoned on the TTI property till sometime around, I think, 2011 maybe. It sat abandoned in a cut of several cars, and I don't know where it was, but it was somewhere on the TTI system. So if we look here, here's another one of their U28Bs. They only have one of these, and this was a Pittsburgh and Lake Erie locomotive that was inherited sometime in the mid 80s and stayed on the roster until the 90s when they started getting rid of their older U-boats, Universal Series power. Here's another railroad. This was a sister locomotive to TTI 255, which was one of the Burlington Northern, Nay, Chicago, Burlington, and Quincy, also known as the Burlington route, U28Bs. These were rostered, I do believe, till sometime in the 90s when all except for 2255 were cut up. 2255 was kept up in Maysville and stayed there for the remainder of its life on the railroad as the plant switcher in Maysville. And when the TTI was closed by parent company CSX, it was donated to the Illinois Railway Museum of Union, Illinois. Here's some more U-boats. This time we have a few of their U36Bs. There were very little of these, but I know of there was only about 4 or 5 of these on the roster. They were all ex-Seaboard Coastline originally, although they went through 2 ownerships before coming to TTI. The Seaboard System era / the Family Lines era, and then they lasted a short while on CSX before being transferred to TTI. Here's another one of the TTI's interesting locomotives. They had, I think, about 6 or 7 of these, I do believe. These were ex-Missouri Pacific, also known as the MOPAC, Alco RS3ms. And what this essentially is an Alco that's been re-engined with a EMD Prime Mover. So it's an Alco engine that's had its original 4-stroke taken out or scrapped or whatever and replaced with an EMD Prime Mover, likely a 645, but I'm not for sure. And it's very interesting, this particular locomotive, because how they rebuilt them, and the MOPAC rebuilt these, they didn't put the horn on the top or back here. They put it right in front of the cab. And I think this is a very interesting feature right here. I always found that interesting about these locomotives. That stood out to me. And they have, I guess, the turbo stacks on there. I'm not sure what those are for. So here is, they only have one of these. This is on the Transkentucky Railroad, TTI's sister railroad in Virginia. It is an ex-Baltimore and Ohio Alco S4. Not sure how long this survived till it was either scrapped or sold off. Here was another rare locomotive on the TTI, not for its type. They only have one of these on the railroad. It was their only ex-Conrail B36-7. So as you can see here, she's kind of in a shoddy state. This is the 5783. She is painted in the Conrail quality paint scheme, even though she's seen better days, and she looks to be a bit of a toaster. And it was also one of the few -7s that stood out to me. It had some YN3 parts on it, or YN2, excuse me. Here was another one of their B36-7s. This one was one of their Ex-Seaboard System -7s. I think they rostered, I want to say, about maybe 10 or 11 of these. I'm not for sure. It may have been more like 8 or 7. This was number 5902. Another Ex-Seaboard System -7, which went through CSX and survived on there for quite a while. It came to the railroad, I do believe, around 2008, maybe before that. Same locomotive, different picture. Let's see here. But yeah, there's not really much else to cover here. Oh, I found this to be an interesting picture. So this was another one of their, I think this might be a U36B, I'm not for sure, but it was the only railroad, the only locomotive on the TTI to wear this paint scheme. number 5827, which has the rail to river paint scheme in the very nice dark blue and red with white and red lettering, what I call the Superman lettering, because, well, it reminds me of Superman. Yeah, I think we can go to the roster here. So let's see here. Go to here. Go to railroad. Regionals, I'm going to say. No, it's not there. Short lines. Scroll all the way down to the bottom here where the T's are. So TTI. So roster 53 locomotives. So as we can see here, they had two Alco S4s. These being number 3086 and 9086. It was built in 1956 as a B&O S4 Alco S4 for Baltimore and Ohio Railroad. So I'm trying to find it. If you can see it off to the far left there, it was pictured in Blue Island, Illinois. We go back here to its main roster page. So I was correct. It had 16-7s, and they are as follows. 5783 is an Ex-Conrail-7, and 5807, 5815 through 5922 are all Ex-Seaboard -7s. 5808 is likely an Ex-Seaboard -7, because I do know that all the -7s that CSX had came from Seaboard just because they were produced that late. Here was the only slug I do believe the TTI had on their roster. This was kept around until 1998, when sometime between then and 2005, it was sold to National Rail Equipment of Silvis, Illinois, where it sat as of 2014 in the deadline or for sale line. So we take in this picture here. We can see here that there's also an ex-Wisconsin Central, likely an SD45, but it could be a -2, also in the picture here. So we go back here, trying to find another picture. This picture has a lot, and I mean a lot, of locomotives. We can see a lot of road names here. Conrail, possibly Canadian Pacific, Santa Fe, Wisconsin Central, Union Pacific. That's really about all that's visible. But if you look at this yard from the air, it is a massive yard. I mean, massive. So next we go to the U28Bs. So 2242 through 2244 are ex-Chicago, Rock Island, and Pacific U28Bs. 2045 245 is an ex-Pittsburgh and Lake Erie U28B. 246 and 248 are also ex-Chicago, Rock Island U28Bs, and it appears that this one survived to be scrapped. So its last picture of it running visibly was in 2007, and apparently they also used the slug a little bit in 2007, so it may have stuck around a little bit longer in 2005. I don't know. X250 through 253 are also ex-Pittsburgh and Lake Erie. 254 is another ex-Chicago, Rock Island, and Pacific. And 255 through 260 are Burlington roof, and 261 is another Rock Island. So we go back up here into the U36Bs. All of these are Ex-Seaboard. I'm not sure why they number one. They number one of these 361, but I'm not going to ask. So we go back here, and I just wanted to find something. So it appears at one point they did use the rail to river paint scheme before they came up with the Wildcat paint scheme, as I call it. But overall, it was a good paint scheme, I think. Pardon the ads. So we go back here. So they also had two road slugs, which are Alcos. These were built originally as L&N RS3s. This one being 139. So 139, its last visible picture of it being a RS3 was seen in 1972 at Ottawa, Tennessee. Pardon me if I butchered that name. At the Ottawa shops, and it was apparently used in local freight service. What's also a lesser known fact is that sometimes the RS3s, I don't know if the L&N did it, the Southern did do it, but they were used occasionally on passenger service, mainly mail trains. So if anyone has a comment on that or knows anything, please feel free to let me know down below. So this one was another RS3 being built as 127 in 1954. Okay, that's not what I'm looking for. So let me see here. I'm trying to find a picture of it. So it ended up. So it was built as an RS3. It was converted by the L&M later as a road slug, and then it ended up on the TTI for a short time. After that, it went to the Chattahoochee Industrial Railroad, and didn't really do much there. It was used a little bit, but not very much. Then after that, it went to the Marion and Bigby Railroad of Panama City, Florida, where it is still used, as far as I know, but has since been reclassified as MMBR 901 from its original. It's kept its original number, just changed owners. But yeah, it's still used, thankfully, as a slug. So it's good to know that it did survive scrap, not once but twice, which is always good, I think. So in this picture, we can see it's paired between an SD40 and a GP40. This obviously this SD40 was a ex-Union Pacific locomotive, but just curious, I'd like to see what it was built as. Oh, so I was wrong. It was originally built as Mopac 3320. And from 1979 to 1989 stayed in Mopac paint, which it stayed in the beautiful blue and white, which I thought was a very nice paint scheme. Then in 1988 was repainted and renumbered as UP 3904. After that, let's see here. After that, it went to the General American Marks Company, or General American Transportation, also known as GATX, where it spent some time there from 1997 to 2006 as a leaser locomotive. Then after that, it was sold again to the Georgia Southwestern Railroad, where it spent some time there from 2005 to September 2005 to October 2005. So very, very short time. Then it was renumbered as 4003 and stayed there for a little while before making its way in 2010 to the Columbus and Greenville Railway, or CAGY, where as of 2017 it still works as one of their locomotives. But anyways, guys, that's about enough from me. If you enjoyed, please be sure to like the video down below, and don't forget to comment so that maybe one day your comment will be featured in a video. Or if you have a request for a railroad or a route or even locomotive you'd like me to do, I'd be glad to do it. But anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this edition of Fallen Flags from America. If you enjoy, please be sure to give a thumbs up so that oh darn it, I kind of lost my train of thought there. Bear with me. So that you never miss another video. Also, please be sure to subscribe and turn that notification bell on so that you know the second I upload a new video, you'll be first to know about it. But anyways, guys, that's going to do it for me. I will see you guys later. Until we meet again somewhere in the high iron, this is L&M Productions, out.